Lawrence Tierney was a type of no-nonsense, tough guy actor that you wouldn't want to cross. Now, on my channel, as I watch and review old films, I like to dig into researching some of the actors involved in these old films. And while learning more about the San Quentin prison movie, The Steel Cage, from 1954, I started reading more about actor Lawrence Tierney, who in the film plays a very dangerous inmate who is driven to break out of lockup. And it turns out that Tierney's real-life character wasn't that far different from the menacing character he played in films like this one. During his 6-decade career, he was known for frequent arrests for things like public drunkenness, for assault and violent altercations and disorderly conduct, and he even served time behind bars. He had a colorful background for sure, so I thought I'd offer a quick biography of his life to learn more about him, about his film career, and share how this tough guy made an impact in his roles in Hollywood. Lawrence Tierney was born in Brooklyn, New York on March 15, 1919. He was the son of a policeman. Tierney was a star athlete at Brooklyn's Boys High School, and he won a sports scholarship to Manhattan College. He quit the school after 2 years in order to work as a laborer on the New York Aqueduct, and moved between different jobs before modeling for Sears Roebuck. He moved on to do theater work and joined the Blackfriars Theater Group and then the American Irish Theater. An RKO scout saw one of his performances and signed him to a contract in 1943. As far as his film roles, Ghost Ship from 1943 was one of the first, followed by Dillinger in 1944. He played Jesse James in Bad Men's Territory in 1946. In The Devil Thumbs a Ride in 1947, he played a thug who hijacks a car of an innocent motorist, and he also played a killer in Born to Kill, also in 1947. Now, off-screen, he would have some issues. He would be arrested for drunken fights at bars and at Hollywood parties. Ultimately, this would have a negative impact on his career. He had dozens of arrests between 1944 and 1951, mostly for public drunkenness and brawling. And this would lead to a 90-day jail sentence and even a stay in a sanitarium. So by the end of the 1940s, Tierney found himself in more supporting roles, mostly because of his arrests for those drunken fights at the bars and the parties. Now, we did have another shot with The Greatest Show on Earth from 1952, which was this epic circus drama directed and produced by Cecil B. DeMille, where he played a crooked promoter. The film was a success, and DeMille encouraged Paramount to put Tierney under contract, but another arrest for fighting ended those negotiations. Tierney was arrested in July of 1961 in Beverly Hills for attempting to crash a party thrown by Elizabeth Taylor and Eddie Fisher while extremely drunk. He would continue to act in supporting parts in television while touring the country in a production of The Petrified Forest. He would occasionally return to films in roles such as A Child is Waiting in 1963, but his issues with the law would continue to hold back his career. Drinking would lead to a lot of his problems, which included things like tearing a public phone off the wall, hitting a waiter in the face with a sugar bowl, breaking a college student's jaw, and attempting to choke a cab driver. He would move to Europe for a period, where he married and reportedly had several children. Tierney returned to the United States in the late 1960s. He played General Sheridan in the film Custer of the West in 1967, but again, his alcohol issues would cause him problems. In 1973, he was stabbed during a bar fight, and in 1975, he was questioned about a situation in which a woman he was visiting apparently had leapt to her death from a fourth-floor window. So at this point, Tierney took jobs working as a bartender and driving a cab in Central Park. In the early 1980s, Tierney gave up drinking and continued with some smaller acting roles, including a part in Prizzy's Honor in 1985. Around here was around the time frame he changed his appearance to the shaved head to go with his gravelly voice. Other roles included Murphy's Law in 1986, and he appeared in various television shows, including a recurring role as a desk sergeant on Hill Street Blues. Now, I remember Tierney from a guest spot on Seinfeld from the episode The Jacket in 1991. In this episode, he played Elaine's father, and his scenes with Jerry and George I just thought were hilarious, as they awkwardly try to make small talk with him, and he just sort of stares at them in disgust. Apparently, there was an incident on the set of Seinfeld that scared the cast so much that they never had him back on again to repeat the role. Basically, the story is that he had stolen a butcher knife from Jerry's TV kitchen and hid it under his jacket. And when Seinfeld approached him about it, Tierney jokingly pretended that he was going to use the knife, using a stabbing gesture in a reference to the movie Psycho. Well, he eventually returned the knife, though, but didn't return to play the character on Seinfeld again. He's well known for playing the tough gangster in the movie Reservoir Dogs, and apparently nearly got into a fight with director Quentin Tarantino. He was in various projects through the 90s, including an episode of The Simpsons, and as a classic-era Trekkie, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that he also had roles in both Star Trek The Next Generation, as well as Star Trek Deep Space Nine. On February 26th of 2002, at 82 years old, Tierney passed in his sleep in a Los Angeles nursing home. Another noteworthy detail before I wrap up is that Lawrence Tierney had two brothers, Gerard and Edward, who also became actors, with Gerard acting under the name of Scott Brady. And he would also play a number of tough guy roles as well. I remember him especially from roles such as that of the sergeant in the film He Walked by Night from 1948. Edward, however, would leave acting to become a building contractor. Also noteworthy, with Lawrence Tierney, there's no relation to actress Jean Tierney. Now, in compiling this very brief bio, I consulted several online sources, primarily TCM. But if you want to do more of an in-depth study of Tierney's life and career, consider checking out the biography Lawrence Tierney, Hollywood's Real-Life Tough Guy by Burt Kearns. That's a biography I'd like to check out at some point, maybe once I finished reading Lloyd Nolan's bio, which I'm still working through. Well, to wrap up, Lawrence Tierney was an American actor known for his tough guy roles in films like Dillinger and Born to Kill. His off-screen life would often be very similar to some of the on-screen characters that he played, and his frequent run-ins with the law, often related to his struggles with alcoholism, they did have a substantial negative impact on his career. However, he did see an acting resurgence later in life, with notable roles in films like Reservoir Dogs, as well as various television appearances. Personally, when I've seen him in films and shows, I found him to be a very cool, tough, and intimidating character. He's very enjoyable to watch. And, I do find it fascinating when an actor's real life in ways mirrors the characters that they portray on film. I'm looking forward to seeing more of his films in the near future.